Hey, welcome back. Thanks for coming across. So today I'm just going to go through a short list that I've put together, just of 5 players that I've stumbled across. I think you'll probably find, with the ticker going across at the bottom and the description of the video, we're going to try and, stay away from, the Wonderkids and, those top elite players that everybody seems to sign. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. So what I've done is I've just quickly set up a save with Barcelona, because arguably they're one of the biggest clubs in the world. So I should be able to tap up some of the agents to try and find out how much they're going to cost. So what I'll do is we'll get started, and I'll apologise beforehand if I get any of the pronunciations wrong of the players, because I'll be honest, I haven't heard of hardly any of them, but they're actually quite decent on Football Manager. So the first guy that we're going to look at is a guy called Baghdad Bouanja. Bouanja plays for Al Sadd. He come across on my radar because obviously when Xavi left Al Sadd to go to Barcelona, there was quite big talk that he's going to take this guy with him. He's scored a large number of goals in his career. We'll have a look at his stats on that in a second. As you can see, he began in Algeria, then moved to Tunisia for 250,000, and finally ending up in Qatar at Al Sadd. And as you can see, his goal scoring exploits are, they're phenomenal really, but you would argue, he is playing in what some people might describe as the Mickey Mouse leagues of the world. But to play 194 games and score 158 goals shows you that he knows where the back of the net is. My experience of this guy is I signed him on one of my beta saves where I started as Tottenham. I played 2 up front, Baghdad and Harry Kane, and by the end of the season he'd actually outscored Harry Kane quite significantly. From my experience of having this guy, he's a big guy. You can see 6 foot. He knows what to do with the ball. He can hold it up well. His best role really, I haven't got it shown up on here because we haven't scouted him and it's just a new save, but his best role really is that of an advanced forward. He I mean, yes, it was the beta save when I had him, but he was the goal scorer of ridiculous goals. As I mentioned, big strong guy, can hold the ball up well, and he's got some really good stats. As you can see, he's got 16 for composure, 17 for penalty taking, but he's also got a large number of 15s, borderline moving into the 16 mark. So his heading's good, his first touch is good, his finishing's good, he's half decent at dribbling, he's got good anticipation stats, decision making's good. And bearing in mind, obviously, with a little bit of tweaking in training, you could turn those 15s straight into 16s. Then all of a sudden, these are all going to change colour and go green or whatever skin you're using. And again, he's got a number of 14 stats. Things like strength, jumping, reach, agility, acceleration, aggression. He is almost like a typical English, British centre forward. He's a fantastic signing. He really is. You can pick him up relatively cheap as well, you'll be pleased to know. So if we go into players' interest, so you can see that the club are looking for around about 3.9 million to 6.2 million, but bearing in mind you can also just break that up in installments. He does want sort of the top end of the wage, 72,000 to 98,000 per week. Obviously it depends on the club that you go, but yeah, this guy's top draw, scores goals for fun. Highly recommend bringing him in. The only one real downside to him is obviously his age. He's 29, so you might get another sort of 3 or 4 years out of him in his contract. But you could also argue that he's at the peak of his prowess. But definitely a guy to look out for. Really good player, scores goals for fun. Next guy that we're going to have a look at is a goalkeeper, and he's actually a free agent. I'm dreading saying this guy's name. I can say his first name. So his first name's Ali, and his last name is Ahmada. Ali Ahmada. Not bad. Again, this is another person that is, the peak of his prowess at 29, but you'd argue with a goalkeeper, they may get better as they move into their early 30s. He's got 20 caps for Comoran. Again, never heard of them until the African Cup of Nations, which is on the telly. But you can see he can be a little bit eccentric. He's got some top marks for eccentricity at 19. His reflexes are solid at 17. Rushing out, so he's quick off his line, 20. Throw in 16. His kicking's 17. 6'2". He's very good with his right foot. He's pretty decent with his left, so you'd argue he's 2-footed. Decent determination stats, very brave. And again, like the previous dude, there is a couple of 13s and 14s on here. Agility, aggression, one-on-ones. Again, with a little bit of training, you could really turn this guy into a top goalkeeper, and especially as a free. Depending obviously on who you're managing. If you're sort of managing one of the lower sides, he's arguably going to be a standout performer as a number one. But as you sort of move up the table, sort of mid-table, top half, going for those European places, he'd be a great backup. But like I say, you can't argue. You just can't argue, really, for free. He's got superb stats. I think he's a fantastic option to bring in. I'd argue though probably one of the stumbling points would be if you're managing in a country that needs work permits, i.e. the UK, you might struggle to get him a work permit, but again, I think that might depend on the contract that you're offering him. But yeah, decent player, especially if you manage him, a club in, say, France, Germany, Spain, wherever, Italy. It'd be a good signing. So we'll move on, but we'll stay with the free agents. So I found another guy called Oscar Romero. No issues with that name. Now, this guy again is 29 years old, free agent. Let's have a look at his career. So he's been around the block a little bit, starting out in Paraguay, moving on for 1.8 million to Argentina at Racing Club, and then for 7.25 million to Shanghai Shenhua. He then went on loan to Alaves, back to Shenhua, and then a 2 million fee to San Lorenzo, and he's now on the free agents list. You can see he's only played 205 games, scored 30 goals. He's had a couple of seasons there where he was quite consistent with his performances, but then it started to tail off. Like I mentioned, I don't really know a great deal about this guy, but I know you can't go wrong for snapping him up on a free. He's got 51 caps for Paraguay, 4 goals. Can pretty much play across that sort of number 10 position, in the 10, 11 or 7 on the right. Only really left-footed, 5'9". Likes to try for first-time shots, and he likes to run with the ball. As you can see, his dribbling's 15. Again, he's got a number of 15s on here: first touch, dribbling, passing, agility. a couple of 14s with the pace, his aggression, decision making, off the ball, teamwork, vision. Again, with a little bit of training, you could turn this guy into a top draw player, really, especially for being free. And again, like Ali, the previous guy, if you're a lower league club, he would be guaranteed first team starter, and as you move up, he would be a good backup option. But for free, again, can't argue. So we'll move on to the next guy that I've found, and his name is, he's got a pretty cool name to be fair, Elias Abu Chewbacca. I've signed him now on the previous couple of football managers. Of course, first impressions when you look at him, you do think his stats aren't the greatest. He is young, so he will get better. He's only 21 years of age, German, playing in Portugal. Again, like the previous guy, he can play anywhere across the whole of the midfield, really. But he is pretty much one-footed, left-footed. Good height, 6 foot. Likes to play a lot of 1-2s. Doesn't really like using his weaker foot, the right foot. But this guy is very consistent from my experiences. Normally I can play him, inside forward, inverted winger on the right, cutting on his left foot. Scores ridiculous amounts of goals, gets a lot of assists in the game. One of the best things about this guy is you can actually pick him up for really, really cheap. So he ranges from 75,000 up to 750,000. Very low wage, but again, because of the work permit restrictions in place in the UK, it might prove very difficult to bring him to a club in the UK, but it's worth giving it a go. But again, if you're managing somewhere like France, Italy, Spain, Germany, etc., Belgium, you can bring this guy in. Very good player if you're a lower league team, fighting relegation, sort of bottom half, mid-table side. And again, he could potentially be a decent prospect at a top side, with the right coaches and training setup and everything. But for that price, he's definitely worth taking a punt on, really. Very technical player. He's got a great first touch. Technique's good. He's got very good vision. We could work on the passing through training. But yeah, all in all, very good player. His career stats: started out at Hertha Berlin, then moved to Leipzig. Didn't do anything there. Went on loan to Greuther Fürth. Played a handful of games there, and eventually ended up in Portugal at Vitor Guimarães. Again, not in the side at all, really. Hence why you can pick him up so cheap. But as I mentioned, very consistent performer for myself. Be keen to see how he gets on for your saves. If you do go about and sign him, let me know how he's getting on. I would love to see. And the final player that I'm going to put in this video is a young lad in Germany playing at Schalke 04. I think everyone knows that Schalke's had a difficult season last year and they've been relegated down to the Bundesliga 2. He's 19 years of age, only been at Schalke. But again, looking at these stats, they might not look at first impressions as outstanding, but a little bit of work, training, games, this guy could turn into the next big thing. There's been a lot of rumours going around on the continent at the moment that I think teams like Barcelona have been looking at him, been sniffing around. 6'4", he's a unit. He's 13 stone 9, so nearly 14 stone. Pretty decent left foot, very good right foot, and can pretty much play any role centrally. So yeah, definitely worth a look at. Again, this guy, his wage, I believe, will be low. Let's have a look, see if I've got that information. So yeah, it's around 12 to 16,500 a week. But the best bit about this guy is you can pick him up cheap. If you're lucky, you could pick him up for around 275,000, but failing that, you might have to pay top end of around 6 million. But again, break it down in installments. If you are a lower league team, be a good sign-in. If you're sort of that mid-table range, pushing for Europe and stuff, good player. Again, training setup and everything else, youth coaches, reserve coaches, I think this guy could be very, very good. I haven't signed him yet myself. He's definitely on my radar to try and get. I've got an Everton save on the go at the moment, and I've got one eye on him, so I'd love to bring him in. That's pretty much it for today's video. Like I've said, as I'm going through my Everton save or any of the other saves that I'm going through, if I come across players like this, I will add them on to the next video. As I mentioned at the start, as you can see from the tick, I'm trying to stay away from those known Wonderkids and elite players that everybody wants to go to. I prefer my approach to the games. I prefer going out there and just sort of finding people that you'd class as unhidden gems. Yeah, granted, there might be a large number of people that might have heard of these, but you may not have. And I'd be very keen to see how you get on signing any of these guys. Like I've mentioned, once I stumble across another sort of 5 or 6 players, I'll make a note of them and do another video, and I'll continue just popping out these videos as and when I come across these guys. If you've got any players that you feel that I should add on to my next list, please use the comment section below. Would love to hear from you. And also, a bit of admin, if you like the content of the video, please just take a moment to like it, subscribe, click the notification button. Would love to hear from everybody. Okay, anyway, look after yourself, stay safe, have a good day, chat soon, all the best.